Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lysha from Lysha Be Creative, and today's tutorial is going to be a peekaboo inspired tumbler, and we're going to be using a little bit of alcohol ink as well to create this design and really bring it to life. So of course everything I use in today's tutorial will be listed and linked down in the description box down below. Make sure you check that description box out for discount codes as well as links to all of my social media. So before you go, definitely give this video a huge thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I upload videos every Tuesday and Saturday, and you do not want to miss what we have coming up next. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial.
Okay, so of course I am starting with a 24-ounce plump that I have prepped and painted with a flat white spray paint, and we're going to be using three colors today. So I am using Vervain and Tiffany Who from Lysha Creations, which is the purple and sort of teal blue color I have, and then the third color is Pearl from Peachy Olive Glitters. So we're going to be applying all of these glitters with Mod Podge. So I'm just using my little Mod Podge squeeze bottle and applying a generous amount of Mod Podge and thinning that out with my favorite brushes, which are the Wet n Wild brushes that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree. You can also pick them up on the website for the Dollar Tree as well. So I'm going to make sure I have a nice coat of Mod Podge on here before we go in and apply our coats of glitter. So for this peekaboo style, I am going to just randomly put glitter from each color throughout the cup. So I'm going to start with Pearl and just kind of pick different sections to apply some glitter. I'm not really too worried about any sort of contamination. I'm going to let whatever falls on the paper be, because we'll use that to apply over the rest of the tumbler as well. I'm going to go in with Vervain next, and again, just randomly create a pattern. I feel like with peekaboos, you really can do almost any colored glitter base that you feel you like. Pick a few colors that just go together for you, and I promise you it'll make an absolutely beautiful peekaboo style tumbler. So my last color is Tiffany Who, and again, this is from Lysha Creations, and so I'm just going in with that teal blue color and just kind of covering up all that white space. Going back in finally with Pearl just to cover up any space that may still be Mod Podged covered, and making sure that I have a pretty generous coverage of glitter. So once I've gotten my glitter kind of covered with my three colors, I have a beautiful, gorgeous sort of mash of colors here on my paper. So I'm going to take that and I am going to put that into just an empty medicine cup. And with that, I'm just going to apply that over the entire cup. And so this is just going to help cover up any spaces that I may have missed when I was applying my glitter throughout the cup, and make sure that I have a nice even coat of glitter throughout the tumbler. Once that's done, I'm going to put this on the turner after it's dried and do 2 coats of epoxy until smooth. So my tumbler was pretty smooth after just a couple coats of epoxy. I did just a light sand, which I didn't show because I know you guys have seen me sand before, but now we're going to apply my leopard spots. So this is my favorite leopard print file from Bertrand Digi Designs, which I will link down in the description, and I have just cut that with my Cricut, sized to I think 10 inches wide, and I've done that on regular stencil vinyl, so just Oracle stencil vinyl that you can purchase right from any craft store. And so with these leopard print spots, I'm just creating sort of a swirl pattern on my tumbler. So I started at the bottom sort of corner of the tumbler, if you will, if you can find sort of the corner just at the bottom area, and then I'm just going to take different spots and swirl them all the way around the tumbler. So the goal here, as I've said in a couple other tutorials, I love when I'm doing swirls for wherever I start with my swirl, I want the bottom of the swirl to be on the same side as where the top of the swirl is. So making sure when I'm looking at that back side of the tumbler, I can see the top of the swirl and the bottom of the swirl at the same time. That's how I know I've gotten a pretty decent swirl. So once I've gotten that done, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple spots on the bottom as well, just for some fun, making sure I have a pretty decent look to my little swirl pattern here with my leopard spots. So then I'll finish up the bottom, and of course we're going to take this outside to put a coat or two of flat white spray paint. So I use Rustoleum 2x flat, usually matte or flat spray paint, and do 2 generous coats, letting each coat dry in between, and then we will take off the stencils. So before we can go into taking off the stencils, here's an alternative. So you certainly could stop right here when it comes to the peekaboo, take your stencils off and just go with whatever paint color you've decided to do on top. But I want to add some color to my white spray paint here. So I have some alcohol inks as well as some regular rubbing alcohol, and I have 3 inks. I have pink from Pinata. I have a Glacier Blue from Ranger, and then I have Amethyst, which we're actually not going to even use, so I'm not even going to list that down in the description box. So I'm starting with the pink color of alcohol ink from Pinata, and I have taken just a small drop, and really I'm just going to spread this out with a paintbrush. So I want this to be more of a watercolor look, very similar to a tumbler that I did a couple months ago, which I will link right here, where I did sort of the same alcohol ink look using a paintbrush. So we're doing that kind of same vibe here, except for we're really going to thin out these inks with alcohol. So I am just taking that small drop of alcohol ink and then using my paintbrush with my rubbing alcohol on that paintbrush to really thin out and lighten up those colors. So I like to start with the pink because that's my lightest color, and make sure I get some pretty good large patches of this color all around, because then we're going to go in with the blue. And so because the blue is the darkest of the two colors that I'm going to be using, I want to make sure that I have enough of the pink showing. That way when I combine my pink and blue colors together to make purple, I have a nice even mix of a pink, blue, and purple tumbler to match what I have on the underside of the glitter pattern below. So I've gone in now with Glacier, just one drop there, and really adding a lot of alcohol on top to really spread out this color and lighten it up. It came on super dark, and I think I got a little bit more than just one drop in there, so I really wanted to take my time here and lighten up this area so that I could really get a beautiful blend in between my pink and blue colors to create that beautiful, gorgeous purple color that comes through. So once I'm ready to kind of mix my two colors together, I will sort of start to migrate towards that pink section, and just taking a little bit more pink because my pink was a little bit too faded in the spot of pink alcohol like we started with. I just add a little bit of pink and kind of go back and forth between my pink and blue sections to create that purple color. So this is a lot of just playing around with alcohol inks. If you've never tried alcohol inks, I definitely encourage you to just take a blank white tumbler and just pick a couple colors that you love and just begin to play with them with a paintbrush and maybe some alcohol. You'll be really amazed at what you can come up with and what you can do by just literally playing around with it as if you're doing watercolor painting, which I know we all remember doing as kids. So again, I'm just going to go back and forth with my two colors here, really trying to make sure I get a nice even blend of pink. I get some blue in there, of course, and then of course with those two colors mixed together that I get a bit of purple. Certainly if you wanted to, you could go in and add Amethyst, which is a color I just decided not to use since I got a beautiful purple color with mixing my two pink and blue colors together. You could certainly add a little bit more purple there with a purple alcohol ink as well. So I am also using my Pinata inks and my Ranger alcohol inks. I also have Jen's inks from Jen's Crafted Gems, which are absolutely beautiful, and normally I would have used them for this same cup, but this was a remake of a cup that I have made previously, so I wanted to make sure I stayed true to the colors I had originally started with. But any pink and blue alcohol inks that you have will definitely work and give you the same look and effect. So I'm going to finish this off, and of course after I am done doing so, I'm gonna let this dry overnight. I don't like to seal my alcohol inks, as I know I've mentioned in previous tutorials. I really just like to let them sit before I do anything with them. So I will let this sit overnight, and then we will come back to this tumbler and of course peel off all our leopard print spots so we can get it ready for epoxy. So now that my alcohol inks have dried overnight, it's now time to remove all of those stencils. So I'm just taking my dental pick tool that I like to use to weed things. It's like literally the best thing I've ever used as far as making weeding easy. And I'm just going to take this and very carefully remove all of the stencils. So it is so important that you take your time with this, just because any small movement could leave a scratch in your tumbler, which would then show through on the epoxy, especially with such a light base. So definitely be careful when you are removing your stencils. You certainly could use tweezers. I just never have a really good experience using tweezers. I end up scratching up my tumbler. So I like to use my sort of weeding tool here in order to remove my stencils. So I'm just going to go through and remove all of the stencil leopard print spots that we have all over the tumbler and make sure that I have every single one removed before we go into the next steps of the process. Again, peekaboos are meant to be super fun, and you definitely want to, get creative with this kind of style. Peekaboos are probably one of the easiest I feel the easiest probably styles that I've done that would be considered a little bit more advanced, if that makes sense. So I certainly wouldn't do this for your first tumbler ever, but I think it's a really great skill to master because peekaboos are so versatile and you really can do a lot of fun and unique things when it comes to creating peekaboo style tumblers. So as soon as I am done removing this entire patch of leopard swirl I have going on with stencils, I then am going to go into the next process, which of course is going to be to add a little bit of extra glitter before we get this on for final coats. Alright, so the very final piece of this is going to be adding a little bit of glitter. So I have mixed up 5 ml of epoxy, 2.5 ml of part A and 2.5 ml of part B in a medicine cup. I am using Alumilite's Amazing Quick Coat. That is my go-to quick setting epoxy that I love to use because it dries rather quickly and then I can get it on final coats before the end of the evening. And so I've just mixed that up and made sure it was mixed thoroughly, and now I'm just applying a thin coat of epoxy over top of my alcohol inks and where I've removed my leopard print stencils. So again, this is similar to doing like an epoxy method glitter process, so making sure that you have a really thin amount of glitter or epoxy that you're applying to the cup. You don't want to ever overdo it too much. You really want to make sure that you have a thin coat because therefore you can make sure that you don't have your glitter sliding all over. So now I have the chunky glitter Filori from Peachy Olive Glitters that I've just dumped a little bit on my paper here, and what I'm going to do is just use my hand to sprinkle that glitter just along either side of that leopard swirl. I really just wanted the leopard swirl peekaboo piece to be like this, you know, statement section of the cup. And so I thought that kind of surrounding the ends of that with this chunky white glitter would really just sort of highlight the peekaboo feature of this tumbler. So I'm just going to go through and just add a very even coat, kind of just sprinkling that Filori all over those two sections in a nice swirl pattern following my leopard print swirl line. And as soon as I'm satisfied with that, I'll let this dry for a couple hours until it is good to go, and then I'll be able to put it back on the turner for final coats of epoxy. So as always, I add 2 final coats of epoxy, and I always use Amazing Clear Cast Plus with UV protection so I can make sure that my tumblers stay bright for a long time. If you loved today's tutorial, definitely give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Again, I upload videos every Tuesday and Saturday, so I will for sure be seeing you again soon.